Welcome back to part 3, chapter 4 of Sandow on Physical Training, a study in the perfect type of the human form. I'm going to enlarge it so you can read along with us. This gets exciting. Ladies may like this. They may like, ooh, look at him. Don't forget, this is way back in the 1800s. Okay, Sandow as a strong man in Holland. With no decided views as to where, after parting with Attila, he would be likely to find employment, Sandow found the occasion urgent to go in search of it, for he was again entirely dependent upon his own resources. In passing from his native Prussia to Belgium, he left behind him not only those who knew and loved him, but to some extent also the interest actively felt throughout the fatherland. Could be Germany there. Could be anywhere actually. In wrestling and all manner of gymnastics. To the young adventurer, the situation was more serious when he had to pass from Belgium into Holland, because this took him still further from hope of engagement, where he was known as an athlete. Besides, as we have seen, having now to get along without his father's allowance, his money that he was giving him. And proceeding to Amsterdam, he was venturing his bark on an entirely unknown sea. He as yet knew no one in the city, though he possessed the pleasant manners and frank open countenance of one ere long certain to make friends. He had moreover youth and hope on his side, and by this time had acquired remarkable strength, with a varied though miscellaneous experience of circuses, theatres and shows. As the chief theatres he sought employment as a strongman, but strongman exhibitions he was briskly, almost rudely told, were not then in vogue. They're not in fashion. Nah, sorry son. Don't need a muscle man around here. He's such a strongman exhibitionist. While the manager of the Palais Volkswild would not pay Sandow the humble 10 guilders, 84. No, that's like $4. 10 guilders, $4 a night. The young athlete asked for his services. At this juncture, when fortune most frowned, his worthy father once more besought him, was looking for him, to return home, was seeking him to return home. But though without prospects and in almost extreme need of money, he refused. Depressed and crestfallen as he was, with his hotel bill in arrears, and not a little of his effects in pawn, he yet had confidence in himself. In any case, he could not brook the idea of acknowledging his life so far a failure. Yeah, he wasn't going to be defeated, right? Even though he's depressed and all that sort of stuff. Okay, because things were going down instead of up all of a sudden, and he couldn't pay his resident bill, right? Even though his father said, here's the money. He said, no, I've got to do this on my own. Escapade at Amsterdam. One day when his store of money was quite gone, save a mere pittance in his pocket, a daring scheme entered his head, which he thought would be a novel mode, a great idea at least, of advertising himself, and might lead to his securing the employment which he now sorely needed, or then needed. He was, as we have said, unknown in Amsterdam, in Holland, and had no chance afforded him to show his powers. What he did was to take a cabman into confidence and arrange with him to drive him round the city some morning between midnight and dawn. His purpose was to visit all the weightlifting machines scattered throughout the town, outside the closed cafes, and wreck each in turn by a strong pull of the handle, a feat which only a very powerful man like young Sandow could do. Dependent upon the good nature of the cabman, not only to keep his counsel as to what he intended to do, hush, don't tell anybody, keep it secret, mum's the word, but for the necessary coin to put in the slot of each machine. Okay, maybe you have to put the coin in the machine and wind it up or something, or it released and you could use it. He set out and only too well accomplished his purpose. He wrecked everything. In the morning, when the city was astir, every passer along the street carried the news to the police stations, and soon bulletins were issued by the newspapers saying that the city had been visited overnight by a gang of ruffian marauders who had by their combined strength so the account ran, dismantled and wrecked every weightlifting machine. The whole city wondered, or maybe you didn't have to put it in a machine, maybe you had to pay someone to, no, not really sure, to use it. The whole city wondered at the deed, and for days it was a subject of universal talk. The authorities offered 1,000 guilders reward for the discovery and capture of the miscreants. Every citizen, and of course every habitant guardian of the city's nocturnal peace, had each his own theory of how the town came to be so invaded and the machines gutted. In time, the town breathed freely again. The machines were repaired, and the explicable deed was about forgotten. A second time, and after a little, a third time, the city woke to a repetition of the machine wrecking experience. He did it again. Second time, third time, he did it again. Arrested, amusing scene at the police station. After the second of the wrecking exploits, it was of course not easy to guard against reprisal, for by this time the police were officially on the qui vive, while every porter and night watchman was but too anxious to obtain the civic reward. The cabman with Sandow had almost completed the third night's run when the latter was espied by a porter, spotted by somebody, at one of the cafes just as he was giving the wrench to a machine which threw it out of gear and broke the springs. The porter, realising the apparent strength of the nightly predator, kept at a respectful distance from the strongman, because if he had got hold of him, he's afraid that he might snap him in half. But having the reward of the authorities before his eyes, on his mind, right, he was not willing to lose the chance of bagging his game, or selling him, right? Being a narc, pimper, right? Sandow, on the other hand, having sufficiently stirred up the city to interest in his nocturnal acts, was but too ready to reap his own peculiar reward, and inwardly was not averse from arrest. The porter, meanwhile, having rushed to the nearest police office, brought with him a posse of constables, who collectively pounced upon young Sandow, who suffered himself to be taken to the station. There he was catechised by the sergeant in charge as to who were his confederates in crime. So he must have had a partner to do it, right? He couldn't have done it by himself. For no one imagined that the machines had been wrecked by a single pair of arms. Sandow's protestation that he alone did this deed was received at first as a joke. Nah, come on, man, you're pulling a lariat. Again and again was he interrogated on the point and threatened with handcuffs and imprisonment. He, of course, continued to make but one answer, and as its possible truth began to dawn on the police, they treated him with more political consideration. They thought, wow, this guy did that? He broke all those himself? At this, Sandow, with a nonchalant air, repeated his protest against arrest, for as he naively observed, he had been merely exercising his arms, and in the shot of each machine had honestly paid the toll. So while he was doing it, they just broke. Presently, a commissary of police appeared on the scene, and with amazement and curiosity heard Sandow's account of the affair as demurral to the indignity of the arrest. He was protesting against it, right? The comic aspect of the scene was reached when the culprit gave indisputable evidence on the biggest of the constables that he was the strong man he claimed to be, to the amusement of the inspector and the crowd that by this time had gathered in and about the police station. So they're just laughing and saying, oh, come on, this guy's full of it. After this amusing exhibition of strength, which quite won the heart of the old commissaire, Sandow was released on his own recognizances, promising to appear should action by the authorities be pressed, which, we may say here, was not the case. On the contrary, the young athlete became the lion of the town, and he and the cabman were escorted in triumph of the hotel where Sandow lodged, which has since become in that time, great resort owing to its connection with the morning's incidents. Well, it became famous because of that. There the entire staff of the establishment was for hours kept busy drawing beer for the enthusiastic populace that had followed Sandow and were talking in hilarious glee over the affair. He was the talk of the town, right? A suite of fine rooms in exchange for his previous humble domicile was offered our hero by the hotel proprietor, who had caught the contagion of excitement from the crowd and was eager to show his gratitude to Sandow for bringing him such welcome and unlooked for customers, basically, right? He brought all these people flooding to his hotel, and he's very, very grateful for that, so he gives them his free suits, these rooms or whatever, right? suits. This custom, thanks to the new notorious athlete, was not evanescent but grew daily in volume, especially while Sandow made the city his home. And the hotel proprietor, it may be remarked, emphatically dates the founding of his fortune from the day on which the incident transpired, which we have just related. At the theatre, it may be added, which had refused Sandow a salary of 10 guilders, so $4 a night, but now obtained a prolonged engagement at 1,200 guilders a week. So he got a lot of money for all these people tuning up to see him and see his feats of strength and all that sort of stuff. At London and Paris, the success of the machine-wrecking hero at Amsterdam brought together again Attila and his what the hell's that word? Quondam partner and pupil. Together they resumed for a time their itinerant exhibitions and afterwards crossed over to London, where Attila had secured an engagement at the Crystal Palace, Sydenham. There, Attila, shortly after appearing, had the ill luck to meet with an accident on the stage, which terminated his engagement and threw both himself and Sandow out of employment. Shortly after this, Sandow drifted across to Paris, where Dame Fortune again became fickle, and for a while treated him churlishly. He made repeated but fruitless efforts to get an engagement, and failing in that, became exigently hard up. Yeah, so he went from having it all to near having nothing in a different location, a different country. His ill luck continued for some weeks, and only a forced resort to the pawn shop enabled him to exist. To Sandow's surprise, it was even difficult to hire himself out as a model. One day, after meeting with only mortifying rebuffs, people giving him crap, or refusing him, the young athlete called upon a professor of anatomy at the Académie des Beaux-Arts. To the professor he made his usual request for employment, and was met with the new familiar answer that just then he had no need of a model. Impatient at the stereotyped answer, he urged that he was a strong man and physically well developed, adding, pathetically, that he would be thankful for even a day or two's engagement, that he might be fed. The professor, not heeding the appeal, or being in a hurry to get back to his class, turned to ascend the stair, leaving Sandow in chagrin to take himself off. But the latter was not thus to be got rid of, at least without giving the learned gentleman a practical proof of his strength. As the doctor, who was a large man, was mounting the stair, Sandow caught him by the legs, and with an easy, effortless movement, he put him down at his side. "Mon Dieu," said Esculapius. "Mon Dieu. You are indeed a phenomenon." He basically picked him up by the legs and put him right beside him. So yeah, it's like trying that trick with the chair, like you pick it up by the two legs, right? Pick it straight up, not on an angle, anything like that. Probably like that, but 10 times heavier. "Yes," rejoined the athlete, "and if you give me a chance, you will see what else I can do." The doctor now invited Sandow to his classroom, where he exhibited his figure and some of his notable feats before an enthusiastic band of students, winning the deafening applause of all present, with a purse to which each pupil contributed, so they gave a coin, containing 200 francs. For several months, Sandow continued to exhibit at the academy as a model, and also found remunerative work in giving private lessons as an athlete. About this time, Sandow made the acquaintance of a strolling circus man named Francois, with whom he made a lengthened tour with a pantomime show, Sandow contributing no little of the attraction by his gymnastic feats and unrivaled power as a wrestler. Nobody else could match him, right? These exhibitions proving remunerative, Sandow finally embraced them as a profession, meeting henceforth an almost unbroken run of luck. So he does these exhibitions. He's making money, and he decides to do it as a profession. But then, did he have bad luck again, or did it break his bad luck? Streak of bad luck. 5. Sandow as a wrestler in Italy. The tour in France with the pantomimist Francois was, as you said, a numerative one, and naturally so, for the play in which Sandow and his quondam partner appeared had many elements of interest and novelty. As a pantomime, it amused the people, made them laugh, while the combination of athlete and harlequin introduced a new feature in entertainments of the kind, which astonished as well as delighted the audience that were drawn nightly to witness them. The pantomime was entitled Le Afficheur de Bill Sticker. It was composed as well as partly performed by Sandow and Francois, who appeared under the stage designation as Le Frères Rouges. Pretty sure that's French, it's not Spanish, is it? Because that would be Les Frères Rouges. Its original character may be apprehended from the circumstance that Francois, who personated Harlequin, was dressed as a huge doll, which Sandow juggled and tossed about the stage, threw over walls and pitched in at windows, with a freedom which for a time disguised from the audience the fact that it was a living man. They thought it was a doll. He's throwing a doll around, and not a stage property that was being shuttlecocked about. Amusingly labelled, Harlequin was also thrown against walls, to which he clung, exhibiting in ingeniously contrived changes of dress the pictorial embellishments of the bill stickers art. The performance, though an amusing farce, gave opportunity for the display of Sandow's extraordinary dexterity and strength, and served well the purposes for which it had been temporarily taken up. From France, Sandow and Francois passed on to Italy, where at Rome they met with continued success as they adapted the pantomime to the tastes and local circumstances of that country. With the company was an artist whom Sandow had known in Holland at the time of his machine-breaking escapade, and an evening was devoted to the giving of a benefit to his old confrere. To give eclat to the evening's performance, the artist begged Sandow to exhibit his prowess in some feats of strength other than those in which he was accustomed to appear. Anxious to favour his friend, he readily complied with the request, though he was without apparatus which had to be borrowed or extemporized, so he didn't have the gym equipment, the weights, etc. After a little searching about, the necessary appurtenances were got together. Impressed into service, besides a set of dumbbells, were a couple of pairs of railway car wheels. Whew, that's pretty heavy, with the axles. Yet, with this motley apparatus, Mr. Sandow not only contributed his own share to the evening's entertainment, but achieved a triumph which threw into the shade of the other performances of the occasion. So signal was a success that the director of the local theatre called upon him to offer him a very liberal sum if he would abandon the pantomime and engage himself as a wrestler and performer of feats of strength. So this person saw him and thought, well, hey, he had this idea. He thought, wow, yeah, I could use that guy. Here's a plan. He stuck out like a goose with a golden egg, right? This he afterwards did and won a name for himself in the Eternal City for his performances, which attracted King Humbert and the athlete-loving members of his court. He was, however, not unmindful of his partner, Francois, for he shared with him the profits of his exhibitions until he left the city. So, yeah, he did say, right, okay, see you later, Francois. I got this gig going on. Cheers, bro. He said, nah, this is my friend. We're doing it together. While at Rome, Sandow had an opportunity of enhancing his fame as a wrestler, for in this capacity he had been giving lessons to the titled youth of the Italian court, as well as winning their admiration for his powers as an athlete. This came about in consequence of a challenge he received from Bartoletti, a notable Roman wrestler, not unknown in America, who offered to stake 5,000 francs on the result of a wrestling match with Sandow. The challenge was accepted, and the issue was a surprise to all Rome, for Sandow's victory was an easy one and enabled him to put the prize money in his pocket. So he outwitted this guy, right? He outdid this guy. On the morrow of the contest, the surprise winner was made the recipient, after the fashion of himself, of innumerable bouquets with other souvenirs and presents, including many applications from those seeking to become pupils of Sandow in learning the art of athlete and wrestler. Teach me, teach me. In a short time he had more pupils than he wanted, though the aggregate fees were welcomed in the improvement of his finances. From Rome, Sandow at length passed to Florence, whither his reputation had preceded him, and there he met with equal success and was presented by the athletic club of the famous art city with a handsome gold medal in commemoration of his visit. Subsequently, Sandow visited Venice and Milan, where he won further honours with the golden rewards of his work. As the latter city, he received a new challenge from Bartoletti. This guy wouldn't give up, right? Who, it seems, was not satisfied that he had been fairly beaten, or was at least unwilling, without further trial of strength, to accept defeat. Sandow good-naturedly humoured the great wrestler, and a new match took place at the Theatre de Alverna, with like results. Sandow again was victor. A new contestant at this time came upon the scene, named Sali, a man who was acknowledged to be the best wrestler in Italy. So he probably would have kicked that Berto Ali's ass as well. And he had one repute in Australia. Oh wow, he went all the way down to Australia, and he came there, where he defeated every one of his opponents. Wow. The moment was an auspicious one for a trial of strength between an Italian and a Prussian, for Germany and Italy had just then joined the Triple Alliance, and the political movements of the time invested the match with international importance. Salih, moreover, was known to be an ugly customer in a contest, a man who would do his utmost to beat his opponent. He'd probably be a Mike Tyson bite, kick, pull hair, all that sort of stuff, right? As well as to maintain the fame of his country. Public excitement rose to a high pitch over the match, and the gymnasium of Milan put up the money for the stakes. The date arranged for the contest came, but the sequel was not varied in Salih's case, though he stood well up to his work. And the match lasted over an hour. The honours once more fell to Sandow, who came off victor and received an enthusiastic ovation with the usual accompaniment of presents, fruits, flowers and bonbons. Subsequently, Sandow beat in 5 minutes Milo, a pupil of Salih's, and then proceeded to Venice, where he bought a villa with the design of enjoying a brief vacation. Here he was induced, however, to forego his well-earned rest and to issue a challenge, this time to any two wrestlers whom he, Sandow, undertook to tackle at once, the stakes being 3,000 francs. A number of would-be competitors, or wannabes, came forward, attracted by the daring challenge, but two only remained in the field to try their luck against the redoubtable Prussian. Their names were Sarini and Vocoli. Notwithstanding that, the occasion was the first one in which Sandow had ventured to wrestle with two men at once. 10 minutes sufficed for the contest, for within that brief space both athletes were on their backs. Damn, this guy is strong. Elated at his success and being in admirably good form, Sandow now published a challenge inviting 3 wrestlers to try their skills against him in one match. The rules of the contest being that as each man is successfully thrown, he is considered out of the ring, though until there is a fall, all may come upon the challenger at once. So he's not going one at a time. They can come at him, one at a time or all together. But he preferred all together. His three former opponents, Bartoli, Starini and Vocoli, accepted the challenge, and as may be imagined, great was the excitement which the proposed match evoked. So everybody's like, wow, is this guy really going to take on 3 people and beat them? Oh, let's see, this will be exciting. It would appear tame as well as the merest commonplace to chronicle the result, which varied in no whit from that of the preceding matches, though Sandow had an unusually hard struggle of it to wrest victory from the grip of his triple opponents. The match lasted an hour and a half and was a triumph such as Sandow might well be proud of. Against professionals of so great repute, no wrestler has hitherto been known to contend in a match 3 against 1 and to come off conqueror. Under this WWF fake stuff, right? When they came at him, 3 of them came at him, it was for real. So notable a contest could hardly be won without its being widely talked of and deservedly praised. For a time it was a chief topic in the German and Italian press, and theme of comment in all the Mediterranean cities and towns. It took place just as the period when the late German Emperor Friedrich Wilhelm was at San Remo under treatment for his throat. the malady which was soon to deprive the fatherland of its loved monarch. He probably died after that, right? Of that. Sandow's renown naturally reached the young king's ears, and Friedrich sent a message to Venice, commanding the presence at San Remo of the Königsberg athlete. The command, we need hardly say, was obeyed with eager alacrity, and Sandow had the honour of giving an exhibition of his prowess before the Kaiser and his royal consort. The Emperor, though sadly stricken now with his fatal malady, or illness, was himself a man of much strength, and naturally took pride in witnessing the feats which his athletic fellow countryman had to show him. With an old-time pride in his own powers, Friedrich took a complete pack of playing cards, and with a strong, quick turn of the wrist, tore them in two. It might have been courtly etiquette to leave the Emperor to the enjoyment of the pride he felt in the work of his hands, but someone informed His Majesty that Sandow could beat him at his own trick, and it was with pleased surprise and with no admixture of envy that he witnessed two packs torn apart. Oh my gosh, torn apart by the renowned athlete. This guy got two packs together and ripped them in half. Oh my gosh, I hate to see what he'd be like if that guy did a phone book. He'd do two phone books. Oh my gosh. 2 packs of cards. After witnessing several other astonishing feats, the Kaiser took a ring of great value from his finger, which he had worn for 18 years, and with frank heartiness presented it to Sandow, telling him at the same time that he was an honour to the common fatherland, and that he could desire nothing more than that his army were made up of many such types of fine physical manhood, like him, right? He added, with touching pathos, that to possess Sandow's perfection of bodily health and strength, he would gladly exchange places with him, were it in his power to do so. He also expressed the hope that he might live to see Sandow his guest at Berlin. The ring, which he then placed on his subject's finger, is of beautiful French enamel, encircled with brilliants, with the initial F and a crown over it composed of diamonds. Sandow naturally prizes it as the most cherished of his souvenir treasures. After this memorable incident in the great athlete's career, Sandow returned to Venice, where he had an encounter with a wrestler named Müller, it's probably German, whose unprofessional brutality in a match which ensued gave Sandow occasion long to remember him with keenest dislike. He was, in truth, a terrible antagonist, being known to resort to infamous tactics such as seeking to break his opponent's finger or limb to get the better of his adversary and win a match, even through a foul. Sandow, though aware of Müller's vicious habit, was not loath to try odds with him, and the match was duly brought on. Before an immense and highly wrought-up audience, Sandow entered the arena and confronted his adversary with his usual pluck and coolness. After some minutes struggling and a few feints, Müller saw that he was not likely to throw his opponent, and he then attempted to play his old game, which Sandow for the first time being foiled. Müller persisted, however, in his tactics and endeavoured to get Sandow at a disadvantage, seizing hold of wrist, arm or limb, in turn with the evident design of breaking or disabling it. But Sandow was weary. The guy was alert, and for a further while succeeded in checkmating his purpose, until with both hands Müller fastened upon Sandow's right forearm and tried to snap it at the wrist, and at the same time, with a supreme effort, he forced 2 fingers of his right hand an inch deep into Sandow's flesh, crushing the veins till they burst and causing him intense pain. This dastardly act, you dirty rat, so foully committed, caused Sandow for the first and only time in his life when wrestling to lose his temper, though not his presence of mind. With all his strength, Sandow by an alert movement jerked back his left arm and, closing upon Müller, threw both arms around his body between the waist and the chest and drew his opponent towards him in a very bear's hug until Müller's face blackened and blood gushed from his mouth and he fell upon the floor as if he were dead. The defence was the act of a minute, but it left Müller not dead but with 4 broken ribs, from which it took him a long time to recover, while Sandow was disabled for 4 months, the veins being torn in his arms and the nerve fibres greatly lacerated. Even today, though 5 years have passed, Sandow speaks of the circumstances with keenest regret and no little reticence. At that time, right, 4 years later he spoke about it. Though it was Müller's own perfidy that provoked Sandow to administer the merited but unrestrained chastisement or payback. He broke 4 of his ribs. Oh yeah, this guy was out to kill him, right? To totally destroy him. He was a cheater. He did those dirty tactics. So he got his own, right? He got him back, threw him, broke his ribs and all that sort of stuff. It was at Venice. Venice, shortly after his recovery, that Sandow made the acquaintance of the English artist Aubrey Hunt, R.A., whose admiration of the fine physical development of the great athlete led him to paint the now well-known picture of Sandow in the Colosseum at Rome, in the character of a gladiator. It was from this artist that Sandow first heard of Samson's mighty challenges at the Westminster Aquarium. To any athlete who would come forward and do the feats performed by himself or his people. Cyclops. On the evening of the day Sandow was apprised of the challenges, he was already on his way to London, with what results, if the reader is not yet aware of them, the next chapter will disclose. And we're going to end this video there. We're so excited. This guy's just amazing. He's so strong, even under intimidation, etc. The guy trying to bust him up real bad. He got angry, but he kept his pose, and then his repose, and he just defeated this guy, breaking his ribs. Wow, this guy is so strong. And this is all historical fact. You're not pulling, trying to put a wool over your eyes, your hat over your eyes, or give you hype or fluff or other silly nonsense, right? It's straight up. It's exactly what happened. Okay, so we're going to end it there. Getting a little bit peckish, a little bit thirsty, so we're going to have a break, and then we'll be back in part 4. So if you haven't already subscribed to us, give us a like, give us a thumbs up, and subscribe to us. Add your comments below the video. We'll get back to you as soon as we can on those. And then go share this really exciting book and really exciting story of this super strong man. He didn't take any steroids, no amphetamines, nothing like that, all that sort of stuff. Anabolic steroids, whatever. He was just the real deal. He just built up his strength, his health, and so forth.